What's up, insiders? We have this notion of periodic business reviews for creators, where partner managers will sit down with creators, walk through all of their data, and pull out insights about how the channel is performing. Now, our editor, Ariel, you've heard his name on this channel a couple of times, wanted to get it done for Creator Insider. So we booked a meeting with a partner manager, we walked through everything, and we filmed it. We filmed it all for you because we thought it would be interesting for you to see what things are talked about. Most of the information, if not almost all of it, is available in YouTube Analytics, so you can follow along with the video and do your own analysis on your channel as we're walking through what was done on our channel. We will say, the video was long because this was a typical meeting. The edits are a little rough, but the information is there and we still think it's really valuable. So I would say settle down, maybe pull out your computer so you have your own YouTube Analytics available for your channel so you can click along as we're going through it. But we hope you enjoy, we hope you find this valuable.
So
thank you for coming by and telling me about my channel. We're very excited to hear what you have.
No problem. Yeah, we're really excited to walk you through kind of what we've got, what we're building to try and help creators, help partners understand their performance on YouTube, whether that's just in terms of what YouTube is doing, right? What kind of our priorities are for a given quarter, how you're performing from an audience development point of view, watch time, subscriber growth, all of those fun things, and also from a monetization point of view as well, right? And then we'll end on a couple things around sort of product updates. Certain product features that maybe you have or haven't tried and how those are going for you. So the first thing we start off with, and you'll see a lot of yellow text for things that we haven't filled in for Creator Insider, but we start kind of, this is our table of contents a bit. You know, obviously, if we were doing this on a regular basis, we'd kind of do a little recap of what we talked about last time.
Now, what are the types of goals that you hear from channels? Just ballpark.
So some goals might be based around viewership growth, right? I want to grow.
So that's what we want on Creator Insider, unless Lauren, you keep me honest here, but I think we just want to get the word out to more creators. So for us, it's just straightforward, just more viewership.
Exactly, right. So you might say, we want to grow, views or watch time 50% year on year. You might say, I want to hit, 1 million views a quarter. You might have a subs goal growth, right? Around hitting, I can't remember where you guys are at now, but hitting maybe like
70,000.
Yeah, so maybe like you have a goal to hit 100K or something like that.
But what are the other types of goals that channels have that are not standard like this?
So audience revenue would be another similar one, right? So you might say, hey, for this to really make sense for me financially, I need to be hitting a average monthly revenue of X.
I see. So then it's viewership plus all the monetization.
Yep.
Okay, so we want more views.
Yeah. Yeah. So in your case, that's the goal. So we would kind of articulate that here, right? And say, okay, your goal is more views. Maybe we have something more subs. Maybe you have something about, I don't know, like you want to reach these kind of views. Maybe you want to grow a certain aspect.
Oh, non-subbed views or something like that.
Non-subbed or female views or views from certain markets, right? Another one that we might see for a big media company might be like international expansion, right? So they might have a view growth and then like, we want to grow views outside of the US by X, right?
I would say here too, like your top level goal, it might be like our question to you might be, why do you even have this channel?
What are you hoping to
top level
accomplish?
goal may be around communication with creators.
Yeah, so literally we want to get the word out to more creators.
Yeah, about what's going on the
platform. Be more
platform.
transparent about what's going on at YouTube and get more information out in a like authentic
Yeah.
way and use our own. Actually, our case is different because the secondary goal is for us as a team to learn how to use our products and to force us to eat our own dog food.
Yeah. And so, I mean, this is, you can imagine this, especially for Creator Insider, as being not dissimilar from like the way we set goals, like anyways within Google, right? With OKRs, right? This is kind of your objective is to reach more people and get the word out there. And then kind of your key results are viewership growth, sub growth, whatever, kind of these three sub goals. But we want to make that explicit and define that and give our partner managers kind of a space to say, hey, let's have that conversation and be really clear about what you're trying to accomplish. So from there, again, if we had defined these goals ahead of time, we would go and actually say, like, how are you tracking against progress? How are you tracking against kind of our previous conversations? What's red, yellow, green? So from there, we kind of say, okay, that's how the progress you made. Here's some things about YouTube, right? Just so you're aware of things that are changing on the platform, right? And a lot of these things are things that you guys cover in Susan's letter to creators, right? These are the 5 things that we're really prioritizing for this quarter, this year, right? Around all these kind of key themes. Improvements to monetization, right? So the changes around YPP eligibility, improvements to the yellow icon, self-certification, and more to come. We could probably put some of the like memberships stuff in here now that we announced that at VidCon, right? So there's some things that we could add in here. And then some other ways to grow your community. So outside of monetization, right? Grow your audience through live community stories. We need to rename sponsorships to memberships here.
Yep.
This is the fun thing about it. As soon as you write something down, it's out of date. Like
On the product side, we try to keep you guys on your toes.
exactly, right. And then we say, okay, great. Enough about us. Let's talk about you, right? And so the first thing that we're going to focus on is audience. That's really the most important thing, right? Is how, like, who you're reaching, how you're reaching them, how you're growing in that regard. So we start here with one of the new metrics, which is like the unique viewers, the reach metric, right? So in the last 90 days from when we pulled this, Creator Insider reached almost 150,000 unique viewers. That's pretty good chunk. There's, as you would expect, spikes kind of driven by individual uploads. The video that brought in the most uniques was actually self-certification. And what was kind of interesting about that is here's when it was uploaded. So you got about 4,000 uniques that day, which is about in line with a lot of the other uploads. But the biggest spike in this whole period is when Ryan Wyatt tweeted out about that video a couple weeks later, or a week later. And that actually drove more kind of new viewers into the channel, unique viewers into the channel than
Because I remember that a little bit of time after we posted it, suddenly there were all these comments.
Yeah. So
I didn't understand why.
You have Ryan to thank for that. So Ryan on the gaming side tweeted out about it, linked to the video, and drove a bunch of new people to the channel.
To lunch.
Yeah, exactly right. So you've got almost 150,000 people in the last 90 days that watched. Who are they? A lot of them are dudes. 83% male, so very male-heavy bent. Obviously, millennial, right? 60% between the age of 18 and 34. So it's kind of in some ways similar to like YouTube's demographics, which tend to skew a little male, tend to skew very millennial, but you guys are much more pronounced in both of those trends, right? So pretty significant male bent.
Just as a follow-up, it might be interesting Lauren, it might be interesting to look through these metrics and see if they shifted once we had like Barbara be a host and Sharit.
Yeah.
Period when there was only Tom.
Yeah.
Then there was a period where it's more mixed.
Yeah.
I wonder if that had any impact on the demographics.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to do like so one thing that we do in some places is like year-on-year comparisons. And so if that's something you would, that like we were actually your partner manager and you were interested, then we can pull that in and look at that as an additional kind of data point. And then in terms of geography, right, this is sort of percentage of watch time from your top 10 markets. You'll see a lot of the growth and a lot of the shift is towards the kind of Indian subcontinent. So India, Pakistan, Bangladesh are all growing as a share of your total viewership. India is like huge growth.
Wait, sorry, watch time in last night.
So it's percent of your total watch time. So it's kind of what your geo mix looks like. Right, so a lot of these countries are all growing in absolute terms.
So you're saying India used to be 1% last year.
Yeah.
Now it's 11%. So it's growing amazingly strong. And UK is actually declining.
It's declined on
So the early countries that seem to be English related.
Yes, it's
so in the early days we've only got a lot of English.
It's a very standard set of like you're an English speaking creator on YouTube, you get most of your views from the US.
But now
UK,
it's expanded out and there seem to be more and more from India. And so that's overtaking and so some of the other guys are going down.
Yeah.
It's interesting because from the comments anecdotally there seem to be a lot more Indian creators that are commenting as well.
And then looking at just overall watch time growth, right? So this is looking at quarterly watch time for basically the history of the channel. So chunked up into kind of big chunks.
And everything's watch time, not views.
What's that?
Everything is watch time based, not views.
Yeah. Well, when we get to the revenue section, we'll actually use views because that maps a little bit more closely, since views map to impressions better than watch time does. But here in the audience section, this is really what we care about, right? So watch time, you did about 9,000 hours, 530,000 minutes of watch time in the last 90 days, which is up over that same period a year ago. Right. So one thing that you might look at, well, we actually go to subs here first, but looking at subs, right? You guys are adding subs at a pretty decent clip. So about a third of your subscribers were.
So I think we're at 7,000 per 28 days or something like that.
Yeah. So I pulled this a couple weeks ago, so it's a little bit out of date. So talking about subs, right? Subs have been growing. Again, you kind of see this like very video upload driven pattern. And so then we go into the funnel, right? And impressions, views, watch time, CTR, all that fun stuff. And so we kind of, because these are new metrics, we want to say, hey, like, here's how you kind of think about and read these things. And then we show you your performance there. So Creator Insider, last 90 days, 7.5 million impressions across YouTube, 1.4% click-through rate. And like having done a few of these for large creators, it's a low number.
Should be more like 5 or something, right?
Yeah. Like we've seen, 6, 7, 8 range. View duration, again, better than comps, but a lot of this is predicated on the fact that your guys' videos are just much longer than most people's in this space. Like the view through rates are pretty low for a lot of them. So kind of, this nets out to, again, about 530,000 minutes of watch time, 261,000 views. And then what we do from here is to really like the kind of linchpin of the audience section that we want to try and make this really actionable is get into individual videos so that we can kind of like steer
which are the
people.
ones that did well and which are
Yeah, so we do that to give partner managers kind of the ability to choose some candidates here and then put together a slide that says, hey, here are things that are doing well, here are things that are not. But again, these videos
you've rounded it, so it's like
yeah, it might be 0.2 or 0 point something. There's also the issue of like impressed views versus not impressed views, right? So the two videos that you have that do the best, and I think are the highest in terms of viewership too, are the YPP update and algo. And like the CTRs here, again, are like, they're still kind of low in absolute terms, but they're twice your channel average. So people click on these things twice as much, and they watch 50% longer than your channel average here. Right. Again, now those view duration numbers are still pretty low in relative terms, right? They're only watching about 30% of the YPP update and whatever that math is for the algo one. But on a watch time per impression basis, they're doing pretty well. They're pretty competitive. And so the things, obviously, those are much more like kind of hot button, top of mind issues for creators. They're like stuff that is really rich and relevant for them. Things like newsflash number 4, like why would I click on that? I don't know what it's about. It may not be that relevant to me. YouTube.com/editor, a feature that like not that many people use, isn't super beloved or controversial or anything like that, right? So there's some kind of predictable patterns there in terms of.
So your point is it's not so much the thumbnail because they're kind of similar.
Yeah,
really the title is probably different, or the content is probably different.
Yeah, and I mean, like maybe there's room to make the thumbs even better. but it's kind of like the combination, the promise that each of those things gives you. These ones are much more compelling and interesting for people than the other two. And so then we just kind of summarize the audience piece, right? So for subscriber growth, we said focus on things that do a good job of bringing people on as subs. So again, that might be things that are more based on people's interests, might be things that are really timely, right? So that people see a reason, see a value in subscribing and ringing the bell. Watch time, packaging, titles and thumbs, right? The example I used here is the Lucas one that was recently put up, was like, the title was How We're Thinking About Audio Library, right? The kind of like more, not clickbaity, but like kind of intriguing title might be like free music for your videos or something like that, right? Something that's going to be more, resonate more with people. Right. So that kind of stuff to just make it really relevant and attractive for potential creators. Because like I bet you most of them don't know what audio library is. Like how we're thinking about this thing that I've never heard about. Versus like, man, everybody has problems with music and getting content ID claims and stuff like that, right? You could come up with a lot of really like more compelling, interesting
like things. Avoid content ID claims on your music.
Right? Yeah. How to use music and not get claimed, right? Like those would be much more kind of interesting titles. And then again, keeping an eye on like view duration and view through rate to make sure that you have a lot of these like 20-minute videos, but people aren't sticking around through much of them. So maybe it's about shortening that content, making it a little bit punchier in the edit, or making sure that that content, if it is that long, is compelling and keeps people kind of engaged throughout. So that's really the audience section. Then we go into monetization, right? Which for you guys, we don't have any data. But we can at least step you through kind of what we show, right? So we talk about, hey, there's 3 ways to make money on YouTube: ads, premium, right, and transactions, all the Altmon stuff. So we say, right, how much data or how much revenue did you make? Similar to the watch time graph, like big long look back.
There's colors by
the different things. Yeah. Then we say, okay, great. Ad monetization, how does it work? What are the key things, right? How many views you have? How many of those have an ad served? How much advertisers are paying for those? Those last two combine to kind of an RPM figure, revenue per 1,000 views. So then we unpack that a little bit. So you mentioned views. This is where we bring in views. So views versus RPM to say, okay, how much of your revenue growth is due to just viewership versus actually efficiency? Of that efficiency, how much of it is fill rate versus CPMs, right? Again, bringing in comps to kind of give you a sense of like, is a $5 CPM good for you? Is it bad for you? What's the revenue breakdown by ad formats? So are you getting a lot of stuff from skip, from bumper, from non-skips? How are those changing year over year? Are you turning on your stuff for ad formats, right? Because that's kind of the biggest lever you have as a creator, is just enable things. Similar to audience, where does your stuff come from geographically? And then we kind of end in a similar place, which is looking at individual videos, like what videos do really well on an RPM basis, what videos do really poorly. We also do a version of this by length, just to see if there are, maybe there's another way that we can kind of think about RPM. So
because they might have mid-rolls and stuff like that.
Mid-rolls. And then we do a last piece just on transactional. So bring in super chat, memberships, things like that. We don't have a lot of meat in this yet. That's something we're going to do probably this quarter and add in Q4, is like, how do you think about your memberships business?
This idea of portfolio, because like once you get into Altman also, you could even argue that maybe you turn off ads on some videos, but you have a huge campaign for merchandise, and the whole video talks about how the shirt looks and blah, blah, blah. And so now you blow out the merch. Then you've got another video that just like really edgy, brings in customers to be subs. And another one that's just like straight up brand safe and long watch time on that one, because you want to get mid rolls. So
I mean, I think that's what we're trying to get people down to, is to like the big change between the previous version of business plans that we had and this one is really, we used to think about like the channel as the entity, and here I think we're trying to think about like the channel is just a collection of videos, right? And so to the extent that you want to change the performance of the channel, it's about changing the mix of the videos that you put into it, right? It's kind of like.
But I think a lot of creators think of each video as individual video that has to be the same as all the other videos on the channel. And so if one video got demonetized and 99 were fine, it's like, oh my God, this guy's falling. When really it may have been that edgy video didn't get you any dollars, but got you a lot of new subs.
Adds value in other ways.
And you should be happy about it, because when you look at the portfolio, you're doing.
It's like you're building like, I don't know, like a sports team. It's like a baseball lineup, or like players on a football field. Like you don't put 11 guys on a football field that all look like wide receivers, even if they're
Well, or in
wide
finance,
receivers,
right?
right?
When
Or
you put together a
finance, like you
portfolio,
diversify your
right? So
portfolio.
you're like a retirement fund.
Yeah.
There's a small percentage that goes into high risk VC funds, and then
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into
like
bonds.
blue
or something,
chip
right?
and
They
bonds
look at the
and-
total.
Yep.
And if they lose some money on the VC investment, it's still small,
Yeah.
and they were hoping to get something
Yeah.
else. So on
And you're
average,
across industries, so it's like great, minerals is doing
diversification,
great,
whatever
but
the goal is. Yeah.
tech's doing poorly, etc. So yeah, so that's really our performance section. And again, we kind of summarize like, okay, here are the recommendations we're making, giving you from a monetization point of view. And then we do a bit on products. And again,
New
like,
products coming down the pipe.
yeah,
But
so
ones that were announced or
announced, but we set a set of like, here are the priority things that we're trying to push and pitch. Obviously, if somebody's not eligible for them, we take them off. But we'll look at like, okay, live, are you streaming? Do you want to be streaming? How could we think about that? Stories, auto mod, sponsorships, all of that fun stuff. A bunch of slides to kind of support those things too, right? So it's like, okay, let's talk about stories. Here's kind of how they work. Here's the value prop. How would you think about using them? Oh, great. You want to use them to do like breaking news or outages or issues on YouTube. Great. This is a format that's like really well suited for that. Memberships. Okay, this one probably doesn't make sense for you. So we can as a partner manager, we'll probably delete this before I, present it to you. Reach metrics. You built them, so you probably know about them, right?
a little bit.
Things like that, right? So we can kind of go through, and this is a section that partner managers will prune pretty aggressively. And so then the last thing that we close on is just, okay, great. We've talked about a whole bunch of
Now
stuff.
let's boil it down.
Let's
into,
boil
like,
it down.
three
Like,
things.
here are the things that you're gonna go do. Here's how they're gonna support your goals. Like, here's your homework for the next, whatever, 3, 6, 9, 12 months. Go, do it. And that's it.